welcome. Family, welcome to another edition of Everybody Hates Poke Radio. We got a hot one for you today. Oh man, we got a hot one for you today. As you already know, man, I really enjoy bringing successful people in our area, successful people that I've had the pleasure of knowing and meeting to the platform to tell the story, to remind people of greatness, to possibly be an inspiration to the youth. That's the whole entire point of all of this, man. Celebrate greatness, inspire others so that we can do better. Hey, listen, man, I got a beautiful inspiration today. This brother right here is the head coach of the Cornell Raiders. You're talking about equip through and through. This brother played on Aliquippa's first state championship winning team. 1991, playing with Ty Law, Michael Hall, Corey Austin and them brothers. Lead tackler on his football team 2 years in a row. Fabulous 22 player 2 years in a row. One of the first to ever do that. This is a quip for you, baby. This is a quip. However, Midland won in on that too. Oh man, we all know Mr. Dawson, Virginia Ave. Yes, man, we're talking about Coach Ed Dawson of the Cornell Raiders. This is a brother. This is a coach that took a program from the grave to the playoffs. From the grave to the playoffs. This right here is a story that you want to hear. Coach Ed Dawson. Without any further ado, I got Coach on the line, man. We're going to go ahead and hit him up. And we're going to see what Coach got to say about a lot of this, man. This right here, I'm truly excited about.
Hello?
Coach Dawson.
What's up?
Hey, man, what's going on, man? This is Poke over at Everybody Hates Poke Radio. Man, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, brother. How you been?
Good, man. Excited to have you on the line, man. I just introduced you to everyone, man, and we're good to go, man. I got some questions for you, man. People want to know a whole lot about you, bro.
So one more time, you're breaking up a little bit.
I'm breaking up a little bit. Is that any better?
Yeah, you good.
Okay, good. I just need to speak up. That's what I need to do.
Sit up in that cool chair of yours.
Yeah, you know it. You already know, man. Hey, man,
Absolutely.
Before we dive right into the sports aspect of things, man, I'm sure that it's with a heavy heart that I got to ask you this question, but I'm sure you've been watching the news and what's going on around the world, man. This is some tough times for us, man. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's scary being a black man, but even more scary having black sons. You know what I mean? And what the world is the outlook right now for them is discouraging and a bit despairing. But I mean, we have to, you know what I mean, just try to band together as people and stay strong through this and work for solutions and not just keep sitting around watching these public lynchings happening.
Man, absolutely, man. The solution part about it is that that's the issue, man. But I know that you got sons, man. I have sons, man. So, and we're both black men. So I'm just praying for everyone's safety.
Absolutely.
No doubt, no doubt, Coach. But I have you on the line because I over here at Everybody Hates Poke, we're always looking for inspiration, and we're always looking for stories that young people and all people can look to for motivation and inspiration. And nobody fits that criteria more than you. So I just got some questions that I want to ask. I want to do an interview with you, and I'm very excited. So.
I appreciate it. I don't know much of an inspiration, but I do my best to be someone positive for my sons, myself, and my family. You know what I mean? So I try, and I appreciate the love.
Man, you definitely are, Coach. Listen, so I said in the introduction, you're an Aliquippa man through and through, and I'm sure the Quips is gonna claim you, man, but. Over at Midland, we want in on them dibs, man. We want men. So can you tell the people about your ties to Midland?
Yeah, my father, my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts are a majority from Midland. So I spent a great deal of my time there as well as home. Don't get me wrong, home is home. You know what I mean? But if ever I could claim a second home, it would definitely be Midland. And I got so much love for Midland and the memories, and I still make time to get down there as much as possible and see my family as well as friends and people I grew up with as much as I can. So, but I'm definitely an Aliquippa Quip all day through and through.
No doubt, no doubt. We just being greedy, man. We just trying to get in on this. So, Coach, do us a favor, man. Take us to the beginning. Like, what was your actual introduction into sports?
Just growing up in Valley Terrace at the time, being a young kid, everything was a competition. Everything was a game. It was always supposed to play as long as there was at least two people outside to start a game. And, it just kind of would grow from there, and other kids would come out, and then it would become a competition between the buildings, and it just grew. And, sports have been a part of my life as far back as I can remember. Not just football, but baseball, basketball, track, and just any aspect of just being a competitor is something that I've been exposed to as far back as I can remember.
Wow. Okay. So now, at what point did you start playing Pee Wee football? What position did you play?
I started playing, I think at that time there was no twerps or termites, so it was just Pee Wee. I want to say it was like 8 or 9. And I had a weird combination. I played quarterback and nose guard, which was just pretty interesting looking back on it, but I was able to do it for some time.
Wow. Quarterback and nose guard. You're right. That is a very interesting combination. You must have knew what you was doing at nose guard, though. That's how that happens.
I was okay. I've always loved defense far more than offense, so. My dad always told me it's better to hit than be hit. So I kind of still to this day have that same mentality. And it's weird that I think both of my children are the same, almost have the same mentality.
No doubt. And we're going to get to those children of yours too. That's a terrific story as well. But moving forward, as you enter into middle school, what changes did you notice in your career and how things were going for football?
Quarterback slowly became a dying interest of mine, and again, just I loved hitting people and getting to the ball. I loved the mental aspect of the defensive side of the game, so I kind of started to gravitate towards defense a lot more in middle school. And I didn't play youth football very, very long. I actually played in Midland for half of my youth football experience. I played in Aliquippa a little while, and then I wanted to be with my family, so I played down for the Midwestern Colts back then. Yeah, shout out to Marco Theodore and Mr. Tanner was our coaches. So, from at that point, when I came back to middle school, my father just kind of took the stance of it was time to move on from Little League ball. So junior high football at that time was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And I started in 7th grade playing junior high football with a lot of guys who went on to become state champions and definitely Whitfield champions. So I learned that I was able to compete at a young age, you know what I mean, with those guys. And my love for football at that point, I would say, was fully blossomed.
Fully blossomed. So at this point now let's go into your high school career. Tell us about some of the guys that you did play with in high school, and what did you accomplish in high school? I know there's a lot of accomplishments. Let us know.
Yeah, so we won the Whitfield championship my sophomore and senior year. My freshman year, I was still on junior high, but they won the Whitfield championship then as well. So we also, my senior year, we won the state championship.
States.
Yeah, man. It was definitely a great career. I played with a lot of great guys. You know what I mean? One of my classmates, Ty Law, was just inducted into the Hall of Fame. We had a lot of guys going and play college football, some major, some Division II, some Division III. You know, I played with some very talented men over the years that were all great, as well as great influences. I mean, some of those guys just learning how to practice, you know what I mean? Just seeing the work that they put in kind of was instilled in me from a young age, to which, again, I see some of those guys in passing, and I still to this day thank them just because I learned how to earn. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that, though, like you speak of the hard work, you speak of the training methods. Tell us about Aliquippa football and how special it is to be a part of the Aliquippa alumni.
I'll be honest, I think it's the greatest. I call it a fraternity. I think it's the greatest football on the planet, just because it's more than just a game. Being an Aliquippa football player, you learn a lot of life lessons are brought through there. Just being a part of the team, learning to work with other people, learning to count on your brothers, learning to give your all for your team, your family, your community. You know what I mean? It's definitely, it's not the easiest place in the world to play, but you definitely come out of it being a man, and I'll be honest and say ready for life, because there are tons of lessons I learned being an Aliquippa football player that I was able to apply in general life. You know, so that's what makes it special. I mean, the championships are the championships, you know what I mean, and all of the accolades that the school and the community gets, but it's just the passion, the zeal, and the fortitude it takes to put that helmet on and come out of that field house is something special.
Man, shout out to Aliquippa, man. Shout out to Aliquippa football and sports in general. One thing I salute and I admire about Aliquippa, if you look at, you know, in Beaver County or just in Pittsburgh in general, Aliquippa is one of the few places. If you take a ride through Aliquippa right now, I guarantee you'll see people walking up and down the streets and they got Aliquippa gear on right now. You guys take so much pride in Aliquippa, and it's rare, you know. But that comes with tradition, pride, and winning, man. You guys are winners, man. And speaking of winning, you did say that you won a state championship. I could be wrong, but was that the first state championship win for Aliquippa?
Yeah, it was the first state championship win, as well as I want to say we were the first in Beaver County to win a state championship as well that year.
Wow, man.
We were the Trailblazers. Shout out to class of 92, baby.
Absolutely. So you're playing with Ty Law. What positions were you playing?
I started middle linebacker for 2 years. I played tight end. I played a little bit of defensive end. I played like a strong safety and or like nickel package a little bit, but primarily I was that guy in the middle. Yeah.
Wow. Lead tackler for 2 years in a row out here?
Yeah. I made a lot of tackles in my time.
Oh,
I made a lot of tackles.
On a star-studded team. That's amazing. So, what about other accomplishments such as Fab 22? Now, from what I understand, you were in Fab 22 for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I was just looking at some pictures of my mom's house a couple of weeks ago, and she pulled out an article from my senior year, which I had made it 2 years in a row, and I didn't even realize it at the time until I read it that I was one of the first people to make it 2 years in a row for the Fabulous 22, which was pretty cool.
Wow, man. Wow, that's amazing, man. So you wasn't just you wasn't there along on the ride. You was in the middle, taking care of business, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I played with a great group of guys, man. That we all, yeah. I mean, any one of us could have been in that position of limelight. I felt and excelled at it. You know what I mean? We were so much more than just a one or two man team. We like I said, I played with a bunch of great guys and had phenomenal coaches as well. So it was definitely a team, a team of teams. I like to say.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like that, but I have to ask this question, and I normally ask most out-of-equipped guys this question. Ty Law, when you guys playing with Ty Law, from what I've heard, that championship team, as you alluded to, had it was loaded with talent. Did you guys look at Ty Law and feel like he was going to be a Hall of Fame NFL football player?
You know what I'll say? I'll say this about Ty. He's been the guy since we were in Pee Wee. You know what I mean? He's been that guy that was just exciting with the ball in his hand or covering. He had a tremendous work ethic that, you know what I mean, that put him where he is today. You know what I mean? Not just athletically, but just even as a businessman and just a father. He's always been a dynamic athlete. And, I mean, I'll go ahead and say that if anyone, he was the one.
Wow. See, you hear that a lot. You know, whenever you get a locker room full of talent, a neighborhood, a community full of talent, you hear those same two words all the time: work ethic. Work ethic, man. Like, whoever works the hardest, man, 9 times out of 10 will go the furthest, man. So that's awesome to hear about. So, Coach, so now playing middle linebacker, being in the middle, you have to have a good understanding of what an offense is going to do, and you have to have a good understanding of the defense and where everybody on your defense is going to be at. A lot of times being a signal caller of the defense. I gotta ask, so how did you get into coaching?
Well, it kind of started all the way back to that time of being a middle linebacker. My coaches used to, and still when I talk to those guys, I always ask, could I take the tape home? I always ask, could I take the tape home? I always ask to be part of the game plan meetings with the coaches as a player in high school. And, I mean, I'm a film junkie. I still am to this day. And because my father instilled that I was never the biggest, I was never the strongest or the fastest, I always had to know where to be and how to set the table, as he would always instill in me. You know what I mean? You're the guy who has to set the table. So taking that from my time as a player, I kind of still to this day, like I said, I coach the same way. I study you, I watch you, I know your name. If I can find out anything about you, you know what I mean? It was all a part of coaching back then, not realizing it as a player, of course, but, you know what I mean, reflecting. And I went on to play college ball for a couple of years, had some health issues, and I immediately wanted to coach. I just had to be a part of the game that I loved and had been such a part of my life. So when I wasn't able to play anymore in college, I came home and started volunteering up at Aliquippa for quite a few years, and that kind of just was the start of me coaching.
So you came back home, but I do want to say something though. That makes a whole lot of sense. You know, whenever you're the lead tackler on a team that's that star-studded with that much speed, you're the lead tackler on a team 2 years in a row. That tells me that you had a good understanding of exactly what was going on around you. You wasn't just reacting with athleticism. You had a good understanding of exactly where the play was going to be at.
A smart player makes the better player.
That's right. That's right. So you go home. You're coaching with the little quips.
Yes.
All right. How long did you do that?
Maybe 5 or 6 years, I think I want to say.
5 years coaching youth football. That's what I do. I love doing it, man. I know it had to be a joy for you to do it with the Quips.
It is. I still try to make as much time as possible. I mean, I coach at Cornell now, and the our youth program comes on and practices right after we do on our practice field. And I try to, well, one of my son plays there, but I try to be involved with those guys as well, just because they're, you know what I mean, they're part of our future in the program. But just, I love seeing, there's nothing better than seeing a kid. And I mean, you know, as a coach and a father as well, when the light comes on, you know what I mean, when that kid gets it and he understands what you're teaching him, that's the true joy of coaching to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful, especially with kids that young. So how did you get from the Quips to Cornell?
Well, I had a long journey. I started after volunteering at Alaquippa. I got hired as defensive coordinator up at Avonworth Junior High. I had a few years there, and then went on to be an assistant. And then I got hired up at. I was a linebacker coach for quite some time up at Seneca Valley High School, and eventually became a coordinator there, and then left and was an assistant at Cornell, and then eventually became the head coach there.
Okay, so you were at Cornell after the merger with Quaker Valley, correct?
I was there before, a few years before that, yes. I was an assistant coach. I was the offensive and defensive line coach there then.
So once the merger happens, it basically becomes Quaker Valley and Cornell is in the grave.
So what happened at that point, my first year, after my first season as a head coach, our numbers just dropped tremendously. Participation dropped tremendously. So that's why we had to do it. But my first year as Cornell's head coach, after that season is when we went to Quaker Valley for 4 years.
Okay, got you. Now, so after the merger happens, you're at Quaker Valley. I could be wrong, but did you play Alaquippa a couple of times?
Yes, we did. We had 2 stints with the Quips. One was in a playoff game, and the other one was a Thursday night special game. Oh. And they were both pretty interesting. The first time was a playoff game, and we were doing really well for a while. And Alaquippa football is Alaquippa football. I knew from being a part of it what the game was going to be like. Uh-huh. And it was a growing process at Quaker Valley, which we were just starting to turn the corner, you know what I mean, becoming a competitive team. And, you know, we played 2 quarters game and they played 4, so they wound up advancing. The following year was a little bit weird, though, because then I had to go and coach at the pit, which was my first time, I want to say, ever being on that other sideline. And that was a bit surreal for me at the time.
Yeah. Walk us through that. I mean, because I've been on the other side of that, and it's intimidating as hell. You're equipped, so walk us through that.
I was excited for the opportunity. I was excited, a bit nervous, obviously, but just being in there, walking out at Friday night and not being on that side of, like, just everything was weird. Warming up on the other side of the field, walking down from the visitors' locker room. You know what I mean? Just, I almost started doing the stretches that the Quips were doing at the time because I'd done them my whole life and knew, you know what I mean, what it was to be over there. But then the excitement of wanting to win. I mean, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And that was my mentality from the time I saw it on the schedule. You know what I mean? I don't believe in looking forward, but I was looking forward to that game just because it was just a great opportunity to see where I was as a coach. And, you know what I mean? It was exciting, man. It was fun.
So walking away from that game, how did you feel about where you were as a coach?
I felt really positive. At the time, you know, I'm probably one of the worst losers in the world. But I felt like at that time that I was definitely on the right path just because, again, I was able to will those kids who, I'm sure they were intimidated a bit, and just going into an environment like that none of those kids had ever been in on a Friday. It's one thing to play in a JV game or to play a Saturday morning or afternoon game, but to play down there on a night game when the lights on and the gyros is cooking, and the chicken boats and what have you, and the band, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's one of the greatest environments ever in the world.
No doubt.
It was, like I said, just being on the other side, it's hard sometimes because you catch yourself being a fan,
No doubt, man. No doubt. I would imagine the players went through that as well. Like you said, they played a 2-quarter game while the Crips played a 4-quarter game.
Well, we were smart. We were smart a bit just because I knew it. We kept them in the locker room as long as possible. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, we want to go down here right when it's time to play. And the head coach at the time, he's like, I don't want to be a pump. Like, it's not about being a pump. It's getting these kids comfortable and not allowing them to see everything that goes on. You know what I mean?
And that's a brilliant move by you. That's a brilliant move. And that's a coaching move right there. It ain't about being soft.
It worked for 2 quarters.
I mean, hey man, you gotta have the horses to keep up for 4, man. It's just that's the way it is. So you're at Quaker Valley, but at a certain point, the merger ends, and Cornell's football program comes back, and it looks like you're the man for the job, right?
Yeah. So because I was the head coach when the last team that we had, I was still on the books as the head coach, and I had been paying a lot of attention to the youth program and had eyed up the class that actually graduated yesterday. Shout out to those guys. As my target group to bring the program back. I kind of knew if we were going to bring it back, it had to been with that group of young men at the time to build what I wanted to build. And we had some other guys that had played a couple years at Quaker Valley who were very good football players. They just didn't have enough. So, yeah, we were able to convince the school board and the administration in Coriopolis to bring the team back, which was pretty exciting.
Wow! So you have a team that's coming back from the grave, Coach. Like, what were your expectations, and more importantly, like, how did you plan? Like, what was your actual plan to turn things around?
So, realistically, we all go in and say, if you're not working for a championship, then you're not working. But we also understood as coaches and myself as being the head coach that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we put that on T-shirts. We put it on signs in the hallway. It's on the website. It's what we believed back then and still now, that, to resurrect the program from where it was and to get to what we want to be, it's going to take time. It's going to take commitment. And, I came up with a plan with myself and my coaches, administration, and it was just about consistency and getting it. And we're still not where we want to be, but we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Well, it's funny that you say we're still not where we want to be. We're going to get to that in a second. Tell us, what differences did you see from year 1 to year 4? It's only been 4 short years.
Yeah, I laugh. I always say those kids had to learn to bite before they grew their teeth. We applied for a JV schedule, and we were denied by the WPIAL because we had a majority of freshmen.
That's tough.
And our numbers were very low, and our conference is a meat grind year to year. So,
Big 7, right?
The Big 7, which, is your Rochester, your Stowe Rocks. Western Beaver was doing really well at the time in that conference. It's just not an easy place. Oaks was there. So, each week was a grind, and the kids took their lumps, so to speak. And, I just constantly we always say marathon, not a sprint. And I laughed because one day, a guy from the Trib was there, and our first season we were 0-9, going into one of the last.
Okay, we lost Coach. Hold on. Okay. Where you at, Coach? There we go. All right, Coach, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened.
All good. So
yeah, just we were just constantly stressing to move forward, and the guy from the newspaper said, "Man, it's amazing and a testament to our program that these kids were practicing. You know what I mean? In a winless season, we had only scored 4 touchdowns the entire season." He said it's impressive. You know what I mean, to see the kids working so hard. You know what I mean, just as much as if we were undefeated. So that let me know we were really going in the right direction at that time.
No question, man. It is, man. It is. Look, you can be a great coach during the good times when you're winning and all that, man. But to keep kids engaged and to keep the ship afloat through those tough times, that's coaching right there. That says a whole lot, man. You were 0-9 your first year. What happens in the second year?
Our second year, so at the end of the season, when we were 0-9, we lost 77-0 to Northgate. So on our last game of the season, our second year, we were able to beat them. I want to say it was like 32-14. They needed to win to make the playoffs, and we put it on them pretty good that night. And that was kind of the catapult for the kids. You know, like I said earlier, it's great to see when that light comes on. Winning that last game of the season, you know what I mean? Granted, nobody wants to celebrate a 1-8 record, but it was great going into the off season because then the kids kind of had that blood in their mouth and you know what I mean? That desire to be better. And that was probably one of the best off seasons we had as a team. You know what I mean? Just that one win and getting that and kind of just earning their respect a little bit because, I mean, we were always competitive. You know, no one walked away from even those 0-9 games like, oh, my God, they suck. We were young. We had 14-year-old kids out there playing with grown men. You know what I mean? Not making any excuses, but just getting in and digging in every day. And it paid its price in the end of this past season.
Wow. So, I mean, so you get beat 77-0. You come back the following year and you beat that team and kick them out of the playoffs or prevent them from going to the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, that's major. That's major. And then you have a great offseason. What happens in the third year?
We went 4-5. We missed the playoffs by a 2-point conversion. We lost a barn burner to Laurel. So they were able to get in and we didn't. But, you know, again, it was again that turning point and it just kept turning better and better. And the kids started to really believe in themselves and not just, you know what I mean, working hard for the coaches and just doing it for themselves and understanding that they were where they wanted to be. It was just at that point of taking another step forward. And I mean, that's something we stress is always moving forward and never backwards.
And it's a marathon. So at this point, first year you didn't win a game, then you won one game. Now you 4-5 and almost made the playoffs. Now that takes us to this past season. What happened in the fourth year, Coach?
So this past season we went 9-2. Our 2 losses were to the 2 teams who played for the Whitfield Championship, which was Stowe Rocks and the Clareton Bears. So I mean, it was a phenomenal season. We had a lot of kids break a lot of school records and tremendous amount of accolades for the kids who had put the 4 years of work in. So it was a great season. I mean, obviously it didn't end the way that we wanted to because we always, you know, I tell them if you're not stepping foot out, whether it's practice, school, work, or whatever to be a champion, then you need to go back in and reset yourself. So, you know, we didn't quite finish where we wanted, but we also won the conference. We finished co-champs of the conference, which is still, you know what I mean, I think that was the first time since like 1980 that they had won a conference championship. We won our first playoff game in school history for Cornell this past season. So, I mean, the accolades were the accolades. But, again, it was great to see the fortitude and the commitment from those young men who have taken our 4-year journey.
Man, now that's amazing stuff, man. So in 4 short years, man, you guys went from the grave to playoff, not into playoff. I mean, you got Coach of the Year. They sent you to the Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah, that was a pretty nice surprise. It was truly a surprise. You know, I'm not a big like look at me guy, and I tend to shy away from all of those accolades and things like that because I'm a firm believer in it's not just one person. You know what I mean? I say it all the time. I just drive the bus. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's the kids and everyone around us, the community that is all a part of it. So I mean, it wasn't just me going on that trip, but it was definitely fun. I had never been on a plane. I definitely never been on a Super Bowl. And I never been to Florida, so it was truly a year first for me. You know what I mean?
Man, but Coach, you gotta look, man. When you're on a journey like this, you know it's only been 4 straight years. I know that it seems like you got tunnel vision. You got a job to do, but man, even if it's for this day, for this moment, man, take a second to smell the roses, brother, because there's a reason why they sent you to the Super Bowl. There's a reason why it's such a big deal, man. What you did and what the players did with that program, that doesn't happen. I mean, that's some movie stuff. That's Lean On Me, man. That stuff doesn't happen, man. So take a second, man, and smell the roses, Coach. Smell the roses.
Absolutely. I did. I was able to take a small break and, you know what I mean, just kind of appreciate it. But me being me, you know what I mean, I'm sitting in front of my computer right now, you know, trying to work towards plans and going forward because each year we talk about being better than the year before. So, I mean, right now our goal is to continue in the marathon. And, you know, we were 4 quarters away from Heinz Field. So right now there's nowhere else to go but to kick that door down and hopefully be playing down there on that field for the championship this upcoming season.
That's right. So you lead me to the water, Coach. Now, everyone is suffering from the coronavirus situation. This is uncharted territory. Nobody's really had to deal with a situation where the economy was completely shut down, sports completely shut down. How are you and your staff handling this upcoming season? How has the coronavirus affected your game plan and the progression of the offseason?
I mean, so just as far as, you know, I'm a firm believer in using this time, I'm sure as everybody else is, as just doing fundamental teachings, just getting our basis down and building our foundation. So, you know, I reach out to the players as much as humanly possible to keep them encouraged and try to have them get film time in and any kind of exercise. I didn't want to be overwhelming because I'm a parent of young men right now who are going through this academically. So I'll be honest, I didn't press them as far as athletics go right now just because I felt like it would have been selfish of me. So I just wanted them to focus on trying to learn and understand this online learning and deal with that now. And football will be football when it comes, and hopefully in July, which, you know what I mean, will be a big time for us to get started. But I just felt like it was more important for them to go through this without having to worry about athletics right now. And I mean, I could be wrong, but that was just the decision and what I felt in my heart. So I kind of have fallen back from them a little bit, just trying not to be selfish and let them get through this. You know what I mean? Kids are trying to graduate. Kids are trying to figure out, you know, all of us aren't able to just sit in front of a computer and just learn. So it's an adjustment. So I just try to let them know I'm here. I'm thinking about them. Staff-wise, we meet, you know what I mean, on Zoom. And we do a lot of phone calls and things like that, just planning. So we're definitely, as far as planning, we're ready to go as a staff. And I mean, whenever they lift the ban, we'll start practicing for the season. But until then, it's just everybody has to be creative as possible.
Hey, that's another good coaching move, man. Because as you said, these kids got a lot on their plate. This has never happened before, so it actually might make. Hey, sometimes less is more. This is going to give them a good refresh. When it's time to play football, they're going to be ready to go.
I'm a firm believer in that. We don't do a lot to be complicated. We just try to be able to line up, be smart, and know our ins and outs, and then play. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Your talent is your talent. It's your work ethic that's more important than anything else. And we're huge academic. We're huge on academics as far as being a Cornell Raider with the things that we do academically with the kids. So they know, like, if their grades aren't up to par, I won't wait for your parents to sit you down. I'll sit you down. So, I wanted them to focus on that.
That's what's up, Coach. I love it. Coach, you got the pleasure of coaching your sons. And
yeah.
I wanted I wanted for you to touch on that. Your oldest son started for you on this terrific team, started as a freshman even. Can you tell us about your son and his development and where things are going with that?
He, yeah, it's definitely a blessing to get to see one of your favorite players and get to coach him as well. And, sometimes like you catch yourself being a fan or a father and I have to kind of reel myself back in at times. And trust me, it's all not, and I'm sure he'll tell you if you ever see him, it's not all sweet roses either. It's definitely been an adventure, but it's fun to watch him. He works so hard. He's done things that I couldn't imagine doing as a freshman. You know what I mean? And he's accomplished them now. He was our leading tackler. He started multiple positions. I think at one point he was our backup quarterback. He started outside linebacker. He started inside linebacker. He's played defensive end. In our playoff game, he made 4 plays at nose tackle for us. You know what I mean? In the final 4 plays of the game, he was involved in all 4 of those plays to seal the game. So, he's caught balls for us out of the backfield and at slot position. So he's definitely a multifaceted young man and far more talented. I've been blessed by God with 2 very talented sons. So it's definitely fun to watch him play.
It's just funny to me, man, because I still remember you guys being at Stowe Rocks. I remember being in the press box with you guys. I was doing my part of studying the team, but you guys were in the press box filming, and I just remember him being a youth football player, and now he's transitioned to be this excellent high school football player. That's beautiful to see.
Yeah, I think he's got a very high ceiling. You know what I mean? He's still growing, which is cool. He's filling out in his body. So it's definitely. I definitely look forward to seeing what he does. He wants to go to college and play football, which I believe in my mind and heart that he will, because he's a very determined young man. So it's definitely going to be a fun time to watch and enjoy.
Hey, Coach, I want your opinion on this one. I'm going to tell you a short story, and I want your opinion on this one. It's great to coach your kids, but, man, it definitely has its downsides. Luckily, you have the ability to watch them on film, but this one time, I coached my son in youth football. He's a very young kid, but he runs a long touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, and once I know he's gone, my attention just shifted to the other 10 kids and making sure that they're not still blocking, making sure that they don't block in the back, making sure that they're keeping good technique and teaching them good habits. And so anyway, my son scored a touchdown and he starts high stepping into the end zone. And, my wife and the whole crowd goes crazy after the game. Like, everybody's like, did you see him high stepping into the end zone? I'm like, no, I didn't see that. Like, I completely missed that. So the point I'm trying to make is, like, you can't fully be engaged and enjoy your son playing when you are coaching. Do you share that?
I do. I definitely I sympathize, you know what I mean, with it. It's hard to draw the line. You know, people think sometimes it's very easy. I made a point before the season started to talk to everybody that I knew that coached their kid at the high school level, and I mean, I coached him briefly in youth football, and I wanted to step away because I wanted him to get used to being coached by other people. But I completely get where you're at because you still got to be coach to the other kids on the team. So it's hard to, like I said before, it's hard to not be a fan and stand there and watch your kid when you realize you've got bigger responsibilities and other responsibilities. So it's just something you got to get used to, brother. And you know what I mean? Keep encouraging him, you know, just try to teach him that showboating stuff is fun. Enjoy it. Try not to be disrespectful. You know what I mean? But let him be him. And, you know, it's the best part is the rides home. You know, and my son, we laugh about him all the time. You know, there have been great conversations. There's been dead silence. You know what I mean?
Say.
Like I said, he'll tell you in a minute they're all not rosy Cosby Show moments either. Right. You know what I mean? But there are times where he has to understand and just constantly stress to him that, you know what I mean, I'm dad, but I got to be coach when we're here. And he'll eventually understand and know that you definitely love him and you're doing everything you do in his best interest.
No doubt, man. I appreciate that, Coach. Switching lanes for a second. Who do you have? Who do you think is the best coach in the NFL? And which coach reminds you of you?
Not to be a homer, I really enjoy. I've had the pleasure of meeting Mike Tomlin a few times and being in a room and hearing him speak at different things. And I don't want to be a homer, but to know what he deals with behind the scenes as well as, you know what I mean, what we all see on camera. I just love his relationship with his players, and those guys will go to bat for him. You know what I mean? Obviously, you hear the negative parts of whatever, but, you know, just watching, and I try to go up to Latroy. I work a couple of camps up there, and then I go and I watch him and study and just I appreciate the respect he commands, but it's not a dictatorship, which is, you know, which what some people want to think is necessary. And, you know, I mean, those guys go to war for him. So I definitely admire his approach and the way that he handles his players. You know, you see guys being silly or whatever, and he'll kind of walk over to him. And then that guy kind of, you know what I mean? We're talking about adults, you know what I mean? And those guys, they calm down and they work hard. So I think that's just them. And I mean, that's just his ability to lead. So, I mean, I love watching the brother coach. You know what I mean? It's exciting. When Tony Dungy coached, I was definitely a heavy follower of him. I mean, I read all of his books and things like that. So, I mean, those are probably the two most influential college coaches. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm all messed up. As professional coaches that I'll say, like, are my favorite. I mean, I have favorite high school coaches as well. You know what I mean? Guys that I still admire, that are peers. You know what I mean? Now that, you know what I mean, I love to watch and learn from.
Man, well, I'm right with you, man. I'm a Tomlin fan myself. Sometimes I wonder, though, what is the big gap between Belichick and everybody else? Like, what is he doing that makes him? It seems like the gap is just huge.
It's a system that I think that his preparation is very phenomenal. You know what I mean? And he has guys that believe in his way, and that's it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's that becomes, I think his success is his ability to break down egos. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're winning. You can either be a part of it or you can go. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that alone sets Belichick apart from, you know what I mean, what everybody else does. And I mean, I get the whole You know what I mean? Oh, they're cheating and this, that, and the other. But the bottom line is you don't, you know what I mean? He has a way. Those guys buy into his way. The organization backs his way. And those are all the things that before a ball is snapped that makes things important. And I think that's the gap that he has, you know what I mean, as of right now, separated.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna tell you this much. We're running at 50-minute mark. I want to thank you. It's been an honor. But I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know if you remember this, but I reached out to you last summer because I wanted to make that jump to high school football, and I reached out to you, and you said something that I kind of didn't expect for you to say, but you said, "Come on Monday." I'm like, "Oh man." And I looked at my schedule at work, and I was like, "Man, I can't do it." Do you remember that though, Coach?
Absolutely. I'm always willing to help and use my platform, so to speak, to help other coaches. You know, I've clinicked with more people in their living room or over the phone, or, you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's just, you know, I get guys that'll call me and say, hey, you know, can I pick your brain about this? I'm always willing. I have a library of books and videos and just notes, and you know what I mean? I've invited guys into my home, and we've sat down on the blackboard in my basement, and you know what I mean? And just talk through things. I'm never going to, if I'm able to help someone in any kind of way, don't get me wrong, I don't know any more than anyone else in this game, but I'm willing to pass on what I do know because, you know what I mean, especially for our African-American men, if I can help you get where you want to be, I will do it every single time.
Man.
Like, there's no question. I laugh because I do remember the conversation. And I hit you right back, like, come tomorrow, and you was like, let me get back.
I didn't know. I thought it was going to be like, okay, we'll do this, do that, do this, and I'll see you next year. You were like, come on through. I was like, oh, man. And then to look back, like, had I came through, if I had that time to come through, I would have been a part of a 9-2 team and a beautiful ride. I kind of regret that one, but there was nothing I could do. But I will be coming through, man, to learn, man, from you, because going back to something that you said about you being a film junkie, being a coach and being a good player are sometimes, a lot of times, two different things, man. You have to be addicted to learning the game in order to be a coach, man. And I see that in you. I seen it in you at the press box over at Stowe Rocks. I distinctly remember Stowe Rocks lining up, and you looked at the defense and you called touchdown, and it was a touchdown. That's the type of things that I look for. Can you look at the game and immediately see the result and see what's going to happen based on formation? So I mean, you know the game, and I'm just honored that you came to the platform and shared your story on Everybody Hates Pope.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's amazing. But both my children know how to break down film. You know what I mean? At a young age, my newly 12-year-old son, you know what I mean, can tag huddle, and he's definitely a student of the game, and he's going to be a special player one day as well. And it's just, you know what I mean? It's film study is so important. Learning your opponent is so important in anything. You know what I mean? Whether it's competitive sports, business. You know what I mean? Knowing your partner and your relationship. It's about your willingness to prepare is what makes you great. And, you know, that's all I want to do. Is when I die, somebody say, man, he was one of the greatest coaches ever. And that's it. Not that I plan on dying anytime soon, you know, but I will always prepare and try to help and teach other people. You know what I mean? We spend a lot of off-season time with our players teaching them how to watch film. So, again, you are more than welcome. Bring the wife and kids. Come on down. We'll make a day of it. Come hang out with us at practice whenever this stuff gets lifted up.
I'm definitely going to be there, Coach, man. And again, man, I appreciate you, brother. And I'm going to be in touch. Stay safe, man. We're not even, it seems like we're not even worried about coronavirus anymore. There's other problems going on. So,
yeah,
you know, keep the family safe. Keep yourself safe, brother, because we want to see You and the Cornell Raiders host them trophies up, win whippeals and states in Cornell. We look forward to it.
That's the plan. I appreciate the time and the love, brother.
All
You're
right,
doing
brother.
a great job with the show as well.
Man, thank you so much. Much appreciated, bro.
Best wishes.
All right, coach.
All right, bye.
Man, listen, man. Listen, if you heard that interview and you're not filled with motivation and inspiration, you're lazy. You're lazy and you're not really trying to make no moves out here, man. Couple of things this man said that really stuck out to me, man. But the last thing that he said was the willingness to prepare. The willingness to prepare. Young athletes, are you willing to prepare? Don't be mad. Don't be mad if on Friday night you're not getting the results that you want to get. Don't be mad if you're out there on the court and you're not getting the results that you want to get if you wasn't really willing to prepare. Film study. This brother is a work junkie, man. And that's where the success comes from. But in any event, man, I'm just happy that we had an opportunity to get Coach Dawson on the platform, tell his story, man. Everybody, please stay tuned. Stay tuned because this man is not done working. Cornell will be hoisting a whippeal and a state. You better believe that the way this man works, and he's already a state champion. He knows exactly what it takes to get that done. With that being said, family, I want you to please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button. The more times you hit the like button on the video, the more relevant the video becomes. So please, family, support the show, support the platform, and give me an opportunity to support you and your community. And with that being said, be safe out here. Be vigilant. This is not the time to cower down. This is not the time to be weak. This is not the time to start begging, crying, or complaining. It's time to start protecting. It's time to start standing up. Men be men. With that being said, family, that's a show today, man. That is a show. There's nothing else to be said. Y'all have a good one.